Okay, so now comes the most important part. So watch it very carefully. So in the left-hand side, you see my front end. In the right-hand side, you see my back end. Okay, the front end in a way Next.js application, which is responsible for hosting front end and perform. Of course, Next.js is a full stack application, so it is also back end. But ideally, why I'm saying is because to differentiate between the two. This is our WebSocket server in the right-hand side, and this is our Next.js application. Okay, so first thing would be let me just uh, screencast mode. Let me keep screencast mode up and running for both the cases. So this whole application is Next.js. Okay, now what we are going to do based on the diagram that we had, you can see that front end, whenever front end renders, we will be having JWT for authentication that we will be injecting back to the front end, and this JWT we will request from the backend. And what backend it is basically it is basically WebSockets backend. Okay, and this backend, this is Next.js backend. Okay, so this is the flow that we will be doing in this whole thing. So let's quickly go and do that. Yep. So I'll have to go and go to pages folder. So analytics, yeah, and let's quickly write here import async function get server side props. Okay, those of you who are not familiar about this get server side props, let me give you a brief context. So what this does is this will run every single time at server side whenever this page is rendered, which is analytics. If you see currently we have our analytics page this, right? So each time this analytics page is rendered, we will trigger this get server side props. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to get a JWT token. Now we could have directly made a call from analytics. Let's say I just add a ULET here, and when the component renders, I could just make a fetch call, and that was one probable solution. So inside this particular function, I could have made a fetch call and then passed it into the analytics component. But why I'm not doing so? Because this JWT is supposed to be generated only from the server side, okay, and not from the client side. Because if you give the access to client to generate these JWTs, then anyone can ping into this endpoint and get the data. Are you getting that? Like this OR token, anyone can bypass and create a JWT, and then they can tap into your WebSockets and create events and do whatever they want to. Okay, so for that purpose, we are using get server side props to make this call specific. Okay, so how do we do? We just do const JWT equal to await. We will make a async request. We will make a fetch call, and it is HTTP localhost. You can see that here we have port number 4000. So we will do port number 4000, and then we have the route as get JWT. So get JWT, which you can see here, we have this route, and we will now specify request option. So it would be get, and then headers. In headers, we need to supply. So we will have content type equal to application JSON, and then authorization equal to. So here you see what we are doing: request.headers.authorization. We are collecting and comparing against auth token. So here we need to supply, the authorization token. This is the secret key that we don't want to expose to the client side, and that's why we are doing this much of thing. Otherwise, we could have just made an API call directly from here itself. Okay, so that is the major reason. And of course, this could even be further exploited, so you can make it even more secure. But this is just to give you a context of how you want to make sure that the request come from websites only and nothing, not from outside of it. Okay, so here we are passing in JWT. So what we have to do this. So let's go to next environment variables. Yeah, that's right. Note that this is different from what we have here. We have environment variables at server side. We have environment variables at next side also. And whatever we put in here, like whatever we add in here, if we add next public, then it be accessible, and whatever the variable name is, then this variable would be accessible to front end also. Okay, this is how Next.js differentiates between the two. But if I just do like this variable name directly like this, then it would only be accessible to the backend side. Okay, which is get server side props. Anyways is backend. So we will be using same. Okay, so what we will do is JWT auth key equal to, and just paste this guy here. Okay, we can safely go here and we can process env whatever is the name. So we will do it like this. And since we want to remove TypeScript errors because it can be undefined, so just let's have a empty string. Okay, so this is how you will pass in the headers. Now this header, when it will request, it will go to this route. It will be checked against this, and since these two will be equal, so that we would get our JWT token. Okay, which is this one. So then once we get this, then we have to have a then call. So it would be response. We need to convert it into JSON. So this is again an async call. So we will again do after JSON conversion, we will get the data, and we want to return data dot. If you see, this is the whole data. So we want to capture the token. Okay, so here we put data dot token. All right. So this is the JWT that we will be getting, and then we will be returning it like to the front end. So now front end access this temporary JWT, which will expire in 1 hour. Okay, so we will keep it like this. So this is the logic, and now we can just create a type here because this is TypeScript. Again, JavaScript, you don't need to do all this, but yeah, because I'm using TypeScript in front end, and you will see why. We will get some auto suggestions while writing the actual, uh, actual code for WebSocket. Okay, now this is there. Now I can just pass JWT here and like this, and now I need to do the changes here also. So I have to create type props equal to JWT, which would be a string. Okay, and then I'll just quickly restructure JWT here and then put props. Okay, so this is there, and let me comment this guy, and let's add dot use effect. And I want to re-trigger this effect only if the JWT changes. Otherwise, just keep it as it is. Okay, so we have this use effect, and now what we want to do is we want to do the same thing that we were doing here. So let's do it like this, and let's uncomment this out. And I'm not sure if I messed up something. Okay, I think I need to recreate the scenario it was earlier. Yeah, and now instead of token, I will pass in, what is this? All right. So this will set up the stock. Save it, and let's go back here. Let's open this, and let's kill the server, clear it up, and do a yarn dev. And I think we have some unnecessary logs, so let's remove that. What is it? We get this console.log welcome validate JWT. Okay, I think we are creating JWT manually. That's why. Okay, now we can kill this up and again do a dev. So it is running up. Now let go to the website and read this page. Okay, we are getting JWT is not defined. I think maybe because in the front end side I have not defined it. Let me go there. Yeah, I think I need to destructure it here. Let it look. So hopefully we should, yeah. So this is active. So it says welcome client. All right. So this first step we are successful. Now, after you see welcome client, we are emitting a message also, right? So we need to read this from front end. So let's come back here and let's go to index analytics again. And then when we unmount the component, we of course want to, socket dot post connection. Okay. If we unmount, whenever basically this return statement will run when component unmounts. Okay. Now what we need to do is socket dot on message. We need to have a callback. Okay. So we can just have a callback here and let's quickly see what it gives us. So we have message and then let's say log message from client and this would be message. Okay. Let's quickly have it like this and maybe refresh this. So we get a welcome client message, but we are not triggering the welcome client message json.stringify ws.emit and we are socket.on message. Here we get welcome client, but we're not getting the message. Hmm. I think this should be send and not, let's see. Let's reload it again. Okay, yeah, now we are getting it. I think that was my mistake. So let's quickly remove this message. And I think in data, we are getting the first element only. So I think we cannot send it like this in this format. So let's keep it like this. And let's clean this up and let's reload it again. And now, and of course, we need to change in the front end also. So let's keep on this data. Okay, we are getting it in correct way now. All fine. So this is done, and of course we can also add, socket dot on connect on start whatever it is socket. And see, this is why I told TypeScript is better. Here I can get all these suggestions, which I won't be getting if I don't have this. So on open, yeah, on open we can have something like log connection established from server, something like this. And we can also tap in and see all the event or details it sends. So we can just have details, and we can have it like this, and then details, and I think it detail. Okay, it is void. Okay, it doesn't take any argument, so we have it just like this. So anyways, this is also fine. We can, clear this mess up and read this page, and you can see connection established from the server. So after that, we can do a few things if you want. Anyways, coming back here, let's refine this. So what we will do is we don't need this ID, user ID equal to get ID. We will do like this, and then we will do user records of, let's say, let's make it more better by doing it like this, user record of user ID equal to, and now let's create the object. So here what all we have, let's open the JSON file for the reference user events. So we have the user ID. So we will keep it as user ID. And then what else? We have user IP details. For now, let's keep it empty. We will see how we can implement this later on. We have user start time. So new date dot get time. Okay. And then we have user end time, new date dot get time. Okay. And what else? User end time. Then we have user duration in seconds. So now let's keep it as 0. And events, let's keep it as empty array. So this would be our first record. Okay. And this is something that let's return this to the front end instead of just this. Okay. So this is what we will be returning. And if the session has expired, or, I mean, these two cases we can take, I think, no, we should have it here. So if the session has expired, we will check, what we will check is, I think we need to keep this ID at the top so that it is accessible in all the scopes. So if the session has expired, user records of this guy. If it exists, then we will do the dumping. So we'll do here dump the results to JSON. And of course, you would be using some database here, but for simplicity, I'm using JSON. And then I will delete user records of user ID. Else, I will just close the connection. As simple as that. Okay. So this is our one thing. Dump the results into the JSON. And I think you know what. Hmm. So we this would mean that we would be generating the IDs even if someone makes a fake connection. So maybe that is not good. So what we can do is we can just quickly check verified result dot is client. If even this is not valid, then we just need to I think we can have this close connection for itself. Okay. And then we won't have to handle it here. So what this means is that if the user is not valid, then we won't generate the ID in the first place. Okay. So that would be better. And now delete the user record.id, and then we will dump it and then all this. Okay. And for some reason, if the user closes the request from their end, here also we will do the same thing. So we will check if the user ID exists. If it exists, then we will dump it. So let's quickly create a dump function. So update JSON records. We will capture the event, and then we will do read file. Inside read file, we will do user events.json, and inside that yeah, of course error comma data. If error happens, if error happens, then you just log error reading file and with the error message error dot message. Else we will do result equal to json dot parse of data, which will give us the JavaScript object, and then we'll do result dot push result dot push event. Okay, so and I think it should be result dot push. And after that, we will do is dot write file. Again, the same user events. Here we will do string API of result, and then again error data. If error, console.log error writing the file, error.message, else console.log successfully return the data. Okay. So this would be our update JSON records function, and let's quickly test it out also with the sample data that we had. So let's put it all here and put it in string. Okay, wait, why is it running continuously? Okay, I think Nodemon will be watching this file also, and that's why it is running continuously. All right, then maybe we need to uh, add an ignore pattern. So this should be the initial one, and let's go to the package.json and add an ignore. Ignore, and what is it? User events.json, and let's quickly do a yarn dev now. Hopefully this time it should not. Okay, yeah, it's ignoring it. Perfect. So now we have this ready. So what we can do is we can just plug it in here, user records of user ID. And once we update the JSON, then we will delete this. And we need to do the same when the connection closes unexpectedly. Okay. And but before that, we need to do some changes also. So let's have a outsourcing function for the same. Update JSON on connection on closing connection, something like that. Closing connection. Yeah. And here we will get the record. So what we will do is we will do record dot what all we have. User end time we will update. Record dot user end time, new date dot get time. Okay. And record dot what else was there? User duration, I believe. Hmm. So this would be record dot user start time minus sorry, this would be the other way. So it would be record dot user end time minus user start time, and I think this is in microseconds or milliseconds. I think it is in milliseconds, 1,000. And then we will call this guy. Okay, so it keeps updating the record accordingly. Okay, and now we can go here instead of this. Let's keep it like this, and similarly on close also. Yeah, and of course we can outsource this whole functionality, to one single function. But yeah, I mean, let's just keep it this way for now. And I think this looks fine to me. So whenever the connection closes or it is closed by the client, we will do it like this. If the token expires, we will capture the data and go like this. Okay, and I mean, yeah, this looks pretty fine to me. So this is about the end connection opening and close. Let's see if we don't. Yeah, one time it would definitely write because we need to remove this guy, and now it would be more stable. So let's first go and remove the unwanted entries. All right, so here we go. Now let's quickly test this out once, and if this is successful, then we will see how we can pass in data to and fro. to keep updating the records. Okay, so let's quickly close the folder, open the port, and refresh. So message from client, user 0, user ID, and all that. All right, this looks fine. So let's say we spend some time, it is 0 and everything. So now let's tap into this event section, see how we can perform event and stuff. Okay, I hope you are getting this used, and until the next time.